The year 2022 marked a turning point in European history. It was a year that would be remembered for its seismic shifts in geopolitical dynamics and the reawakening of old rivalries. Russia launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine, an act that sent shockwaves through the international community and reignited fears of large-scale conflict in Europe. The world watched in horror as a sovereign nation was attacked. The images of tanks rolling across borders and cities under siege were reminiscent of a bygone era, yet they were happening in real time. The United States, along with its allies, swiftly responded with a series of sanctions against Russia. These sanctions aimed to cripple the Russian economy and pressure its leadership to cease hostilities. In addition to economic measures, they also provided Ukraine with substantial military aid. This aid included advanced weaponry, intelligence support, and training for Ukrainian forces. This aid proved crucial in bolstering Ukraine's defenses. Ukrainian soldiers, equipped with modern gear and supported by international allies, were able to mount a more effective resistance. It allowed them to resist the invasion far more effectively than many anticipated. The resilience and determination of the Ukrainian people became a symbol of defiance against aggression. This aid, however, has not been without its complications. The logistics of delivering aid, the risk of escalation, and the political ramifications have all posed significant challenges. Recently, the United States made the decision to suspend a significant portion of its military aid to Ukraine. This move was unexpected and has led to widespread debate. This decision sent shockwaves through the international community. Allies and adversaries alike were left questioning the future of U.S. involvement in the conflict. It raised concerns about the United States' commitment to Ukraine's defense. Analysts and citizens alike pondered the implications of this sudden shift in policy. The suspension has created a sense of uncertainty about the future of the conflict. Ukrainian leaders and citizens are now left to wonder about their next steps and the level of support they can expect. The decision to suspend aid did not emerge in a vacuum. It was the culmination of a series of events and escalating tensions that have been building over time. It followed a period of escalating tensions between the United States and Russia. Diplomatic efforts had failed to ease the strain, and the conflict in Ukraine became a flashpoint. The conflict in Ukraine has become a focal point in the broader geopolitical rivalry between these two powers. It is not just a regional issue but a global one, with far-reaching implications. The suspension of aid must be understood within this complex and fraught context. It is a decision that reflects the intricate and often perilous nature of international relations. The ramifications of this decision are significant. They extend beyond the immediate military balance on the ground in Ukraine and touch upon broader strategic considerations. They extend far beyond the immediate military balance on the ground in Ukraine. The decision has the potential to alter alliances, shift power dynamics, and influence future conflicts. The aid suspension has ignited a debate about the role of the United States in the world. Questions about its commitment to allies and its stance on global conflicts have come to the forefront. It has also raised questions about the future of the Transatlantic alliance. The unity and resolve of NATO and its member states are now under scrutiny as they navigate this new phase of the conflict. The suspension of U.S. military aid to Ukraine came on the heels of a controversial meeting. Then President Donald Trump met with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy. This meeting, shrouded in controversy, became a pivotal moment in the relationship between the two countries. It also became a flashpoint in American politics. During the meeting, President Trump pressed President Zelenskyy to investigate his political rival. This pressure tactic, widely seen as an attempt to leverage U.S. foreign policy for personal gain, sparked outrage. It ultimately led to President Trump's first impeachment. The meeting cast a long shadow over U.S.-Ukraine relations. The aid suspension, coming so soon after this controversial meeting, raised immediate alarms. Many saw it as a quid pro quo. They argued that President Trump was withholding vital military assistance. His aim, they alleged, was to coerce Ukraine into interfering in the upcoming U.S. presidential election. The Trump administration denied these allegations. They offered various justifications for the aid suspension. These ranged from concerns about corruption in Ukraine to a desire for European allies to shoulder more of the burden of supporting Ukraine. These explanations did little to quell the controversy. The suspended U.S. military aid encompassed a range of vital equipment and resources. This aid was not just a collection of items, but a lifeline that provided the Ukrainian military with the tools necessary to defend their sovereignty and protect their citizens. The suspension of this aid has far-reaching consequences that ripple through every aspect of Ukraine's defense strategy. This included Javelin anti-tank missiles, which had proven highly effective against Russian armor in the early stages of the conflict. These missiles are not just weapons. They are symbols of hope and resilience for Ukrainian soldiers on the front lines. The Javelins have been instrumental in leveling the playing field against a technologically superior adversary. The aid also encompassed secure communication systems, crucial for coordinating Ukrainian defenses against Russian electronic warfare. These systems ensure that Ukrainian forces can communicate effectively, share intelligence, and execute coordinated maneuvers. Without these secure lines of communication, the risk of miscommunication and disarray increases significantly. Furthermore, it included training programs for Ukrainian soldiers, designed to enhance their combat effectiveness. These programs are essential for preparing soldiers to face the multifaceted challenges of modern warfare. Training not only improves tactical skills but also boosts confidence and morale, which are critical in high-stress combat situations. This suspension had a direct impact on Ukraine's ability to defend itself against Russian aggression. The absence of these resources means that Ukrainian soldiers are left to face a formidable enemy with diminished capabilities. Every piece of equipment and every training session lost translates to a tangible decrease in defensive strength. The Javelin anti-tank missiles, for instance, played a critical role in blunting the initial Russian armored advance. These missiles have been a game-changer, allowing Ukrainian forces to destroy Russian tanks and halt their progress. The loss of such a crucial weapon system could lead to a resurgence of Russian armored assaults. The loss of these weapon systems, along with the suspension of training programs, threatened to weaken Ukraine's defensive capabilities. Empty weapon crates and closed training facilities are stark reminders of the gap left by the suspended aid. This gap is not easily filled and poses a significant risk to Ukraine's national security. The suspension also had broader strategic implications. It forced Ukrainian military leaders to rethink their strategies and adapt to a new reality where they might not have the support they once relied on. This shift in strategy can lead to vulnerabilities that the enemy could exploit. It signaled a potential weakening of U.S. support for Ukraine. The strong alliance between the U.S. and Ukraine has been a cornerstone of Ukraine's defense strategy. Any perceived weakening of this alliance can have a demoralizing effect on Ukrainian forces and embolden their adversaries. This sent a dangerous message to Russia. It suggested that the United States might be willing to tolerate further Russian aggression. Such a perception can embolden Russian forces to push their offensive, believing that they face less international resistance. It suggested that the United States might be willing to tolerate further Russian aggression. This perception risked emboldening Russia, making them more likely to escalate their military actions. The geopolitical ramifications of this are profound, potentially destabilizing the entire region. This perception risked emboldening Russia. A more aggressive Russian stance could lead to increased military posturing and a higher likelihood of conflict escalation. The suspension of aid thus has implications that extend far beyond the immediate battlefield. It could lead to a further escalation of the conflict. As tensions rise and both sides prepare for more intense confrontations, the risk of a broader war increases. The suspension of aid, therefore, not only affects Ukraine, but also has the potential to impact global peace and security. Moreover, the suspension of aid had a demoralizing effect on Ukrainian forces. These soldiers, who have been fighting bravely against a numerically superior enemy, rely heavily on U.S. support. The sudden withdrawal of this support can lead to feelings of abandonment and hopelessness. These forces, fighting bravely against a numerically superior enemy, relied heavily on U.S. support. The aid provided not just material support but also a psychological boost, reinforcing the belief that they were not alone in their struggle. The suspension of aid undermines this belief and can have a detrimental effect on their fighting spirit. The suspension raised doubts about the reliability of this support. Soldiers on the front lines began to question whether they could count on continued assistance from their allies. This uncertainty can lead to hesitation and a lack of confidence, both of which are dangerous in combat situations. This uncertainty threatened to undermine their morale at a critical juncture in the conflict. Despite these challenges, Ukrainian soldiers continue to show remarkable determination and resilience. Their resolve to defend their homeland remains strong, but the support of their allies is crucial to sustaining this resolve in the long term. The duration of the aid suspension remained a subject of intense speculation. Experts from various fields weighed in, each offering their own perspective on the potential outcomes and implications of this significant policy shift. Some analysts argued that it was a temporary measure. They suggested that the suspension was a strategic move, intended to apply pressure on Ukraine to make certain political or military concessions. They believed it was designed to pressure Ukraine or to extract concessions from European allies. This perspective was rooted in the belief that the US was leveraging its aid to achieve broader geopolitical goals, including stronger commitments from European nations. Others feared it represented a more fundamental shift in US policy. These analysts warned that the suspension could signal a long-term reduction in American involvement in Eastern Europe, potentially leaving the region more vulnerable to Russian influence. This shift, they argued, signaled a waning commitment to containing Russian aggression in the region. The implications of such a shift were profound, potentially altering the balance of power and stability in Eastern Europe. The uncertainty surrounding the duration of the aid freeze had a destabilizing effect on the region. Countries in Eastern Europe, particularly Ukraine, found themselves in a precarious position, unsure of how to proceed without clear support from the US. It made it difficult for Ukraine to plan its long-term defense strategy. Military leaders were forced to reconsider their plans and resources, knowing that their ability to sustain a prolonged defense effort was now in question. The uncertainty also fueled anxieties among US allies in Europe. European nations, already wary of Russian intentions, now faced the prospect of diminished American support, which could embolden Russian actions in the region. They feared being left to confront a resurgent Russia without adequate American support. This fear was not unfounded, as recent history had shown the importance of US military and financial aid in countering Russian aggression. The suspension also raised serious questions about the sustainability of Ukraine's defense efforts. With a significant portion of its military budget reliant on foreign aid, Ukraine faced the daunting task of maintaining its defense capabilities with potentially reduced resources. While Ukraine had demonstrated remarkable resilience and determination in the face of Russian aggression, its military capabilities remained heavily reliant on external support. The bravery and resolve of Ukrainian soldiers and citizens were undeniable, but the material support was equally crucial. The suspension of US aid, if prolonged, threatened to erode Ukraine's ability to resist Russian pressure. Depleted stockpiles and empty warehouses painted a grim picture of the potential future without sustained aid. This situation underscored the need for a diversified approach to supporting Ukraine's defense. Relying solely on US aid was no longer a viable strategy. A more comprehensive and collaborative effort was required. It highlighted the importance of increased contributions from European allies. European nations needed to step up their support, both financially and militarily, to ensure regional stability and security. It also emphasized the need for diplomatic efforts to find a political solution to the conflict. Military aid alone could not resolve the underlying issues. Sustained diplomatic engagement was essential to achieving a lasting peace. The international community had a crucial role to play in mediating and facilitating dialogue between the conflicting parties. Only through a concerted and unified effort could a sustainable resolution be reached. Beyond military and diplomatic efforts, humanitarian aid and rebuilding initiatives were vital. Supporting the Ukrainian people in their time of need would help foster resilience and hope for a brighter future. The global community's solidarity with Ukraine was a powerful testament to the shared values of freedom and democracy. Continued support and collaboration were essential to ensuring that these values prevailed in the face of adversity.